And good morning to you all, and well, let's say happy Easter. Well, we say that with a hesitation, seeing as your favorite weekend news duo here at News Central, Judith and I are proudly agnostic, not quite spiritual, not quite secular. We're just hovering somewhere in between the, coffee and our cold facts. But hey, just for tradition's sake, happy Easter to all who celebrate. May your rice be soft, your Easter felicities be well attended, and your power supply stable. Speaking of traffic, not that it relates in any way, hallelujah to all who tried to exit Lagos on Good Friday and got stuck in the special kind of hell that was Kara Bridge. An accident that looked like the opening scene of a Fast and Furious movie had multiple vehicles involved and turned what should have been a peaceful Easter escape into a horror show of honking, overheating engines, and emotional breakdowns stretching all the way back to Alabi. Because, hey, what says family time better than spending 6 hours in a gridlock clutching the steering wheel with great regret? Because it's Lagos. But should it surprise you? I think not. This is, after all, Lagos. Accidents like these are part of the package deal. And when it comes to articulated trucks, it's like we're all just waiting for the next disaster. You remember the last one on the Tedelaf Bridge, the one that caused the fire a few weeks back? Of course, it came, it burned, lives were lost, and then everybody just moved on. No real changes, no long-term solutions, just vibes and resignation until it happens again. And the unfortunate thing is that it will. Now, onto the creme de la creme of our existential woes as Nigerians currently. A missing president. Some may say he's on holiday, but while the country burns, apparently saving Nigeria remotely is the latest innovation in governance, they say. When Paris, who could have known? The Wi-Fi there has the bandwidth to handle insurgency, inflation, and also insecurity all at the same time. It must be really broadband, if you get me. From the luxury of Europe, President Tinubu is allegedly managing the mess back home. That's if you believe governance can be done via Zoom. But back here in Nigeria, people aren't really buying it. Not even Peter Obi, who has now asked the president to please suspend his Parisian croissant retreat and rush back home to fix the bedlam we find ourselves. But sit back for the irony. While I hear you ask, but we have a vice president somewhere on the ground now, don't we? Well, just when you thought the drama couldn't get any better, rumors surfaced that the vice president, Kashim Shettima, was denied access to Aso Rock while the boss was away in Paris. The presidency, of course, they deny it, as they deny almost everything. But really, for 1 second, think about it. If the VP can't get access into the building, who's running the shop? The janitor? ChatGPT? I don't know. Or even if there was the slightest partial possibility or truth of this happening, then Nigeria has really fully entered its family feud phase. A messy type, where uncles are locked out of the house and cousins are fighting for the remote control. Honestly, it's giving like African Big Brother meets House of Cards vibes. But not to worry, we're all here to make sense of the chaos and mess that is Nigeria, Judith and I. Come through, Judith. Hi, how are you? Good morning.
Hey, good morning to you, Miss. Happy Easter.
She tells me happy Easter.
And now it's greetings now. They told me happy Easter this morning. I'm passing it on.
Pass it on, I guess.
Pass it on. There we go.
In any case, Lagos, Nigeria, Africa, the world, welcome to Breakfast Extra, your weekend therapy session, news buffet, and passive-aggressive family gatherings at Easter, all rolled up into one. Let's get the show started.
And a very good morning to you and welcome to Breakfast Extra, your daily dive into the stories that shape our nation and stir the conversation. On today's edition, we've got a compelling lineup that cuts across culture, infrastructure, agriculture, and social justice, all reflecting the pulse of Nigeria. First up, we're going lost in translation as we explore the confusing and often neglected world of road signs in Nigeria. Just how much do drivers really understand them, and what are the real consequences of poor signage on road safety? And next, we focus on food security as the federal government takes a major step with inauguration of the agricultural sector working group. It's a bold move to combat food insecurity and strengthen coordination across Nigeria's agricultural value chain. Then it's lights, camera, stage as we examine the theatre revival sweeping through Nigeria, a cultural comeback that's led by young, passionate creatives determined to bring back the stage to its, despite the dominance of Nollywood and social media and streaming platforms, they were doing their best to bring our stage back to its old glory. All that and more as we take you through stories that matter still around. So I would say stick around and welcome once again to Breakfast Extra. And now it's time for us to bring you the dailies for this morning. And Mazino is still by the screen, by the way.
Yes, indeed. There's a reason why they asked me to stay here, so they don't want me sitting.
Right.
Well, let's do the dailies. I'm wondering what one we're starting with today. I've got a host of them. We're starting with the Punch. Let's go for the Punch newspaper this morning. Front and center, big headline here. Security chiefs under fire over mass killings. Benue death toll rises to 55 as 250 killed in 2 weeks. Wow. Now, Bello Turji exclusive 7 months. Is that exclusive? Hang on a second. My glasses are a bit iffy these days. Exclusive 7 months after Tinubu's order. Elusive. I beg your pardon. Elusive. At the top for the Punch, states get 1 trillion naira LG funds amid delayed autonomy, and varsities face probe over students' loan fraud. But Judith, you remember when they started the student loans and what I said? Did I not say that it's another means for racketeering? Is that not what this headline is actually saying?
Every scheme is a means for racketeering. It's just it's sad. Like, we can't do anything sincerely and transparent and be accountable.
It would seem so. I do have faith in Nigeria, however. I know that there is some good left in people. It's just that when you're put into a corrupt situation...
Social conditioning bends you.
Exactly, that's what it is.
That condition makes for crayfish bend in local parlance.
Yeah.
I get it.
There's still another one here. Buhari, the greatest fraud that happened to Nigeria, says Buba Galadima. It's good that I have the screen here and you don't, Judith, unfortunately. 2027 PDP chieftains kick as party leaders endorse Tinubu. Oh, yes, it's going to be a big one. We've got the strips coming up right after, and I have to show you something that relates to this headline here from the Punch. And finally, for the Punch, or from the Punch front page, Lagos hunts landlord after 2 die in building collapse. Judith, have you been hearing? Did you hear of the building that is a 3 or 4 story building that collapsed?
Yeah, it's really, really sad. I think we're going to have that conversation later on today.
I saw the rescued victims. It was very sad to see, but hopefully, I don't know if it's too late to hope that there could still be
survivors.
Survivors, yeah.
It's unfortunate, it's sad, and we'll continue to sound the alarm on proper regulations and stipulating to the proper use of materials when it comes to building homes.
And then there is that. Then there is the old buildings. The majority of what's happening now are mostly old buildings, And then, but then, of course, you are correct. Materials and quality and everything for
it's still the same, because if it's old, you have scrimped in usage.
Yeah,
it doesn't say old or new.
Yeah.
So
what do we have next? Because I'm done with the Punch.
Now let's move on now. We're heading to the Sunday Times this time. Right. And the very first one that jumps at you here, Bishop Chikwe to Tinubu, Nigeria's insecurity out of control, tackle incessant killings. You can find that on the front page of the Sunday Times. At the bottom there, Edo kidnappings will sign death sentences on convicted kidnappers, and that's from the governor there, Paulo. You can find the story on page 2. Report on VP Shotima blocked from Aso Villa mischievous, and that's from the presidential aide there. That story is on page 8.
Can we pause and talk about this though, Judith?
Sure.
Do you think that there's smoke without fire? This is just you and I talking now, not like, just you and I. Do you think there's smoke without fire?
Let me take off my journalist hat.
Okay, do that. What do you think? Judith, speak, don't laugh. Serious business.
Oh my God, I am afraid.
Okay, go on.
I'm afraid of things going viral these days. But here's
Off
what
the record.
So off the record, yes, there's no smoke without fire for certain. For that to have leaked and say it's a mischievous rumor, it's very interesting that that all of these persons are not getting into Aso Villa. Why? Is it because the president is not around?
I will tell you something. Like you say, there's no smoke without fire. But even if it is remotely possible, what could be behind it? And then it's the instant feedback, which is something we should actually commend by the presidency. The instant reply and, crisis control. Oh, no, it's just mischievous people trying to make nonsense happen. But I still think that with the way that they're responding, the presidency, there's something there.
Yeah, I mean, there is something there for certain.
It's like putting out the fire quickly.
Yeah, before it comes up. And that smells guilty as well. Exactly. It smells very guilty as well.
Suspicious.
But if you have that many aides when it comes to press for media, the many media aides like you do, that's your job, to literally put out any small fires that you find. So it's clear that they have their ears on the ground and they know what's going on. They can smell every news. But it's just sad that the real things we'd like for you to address, you're not addressing them. But
yes, indeed.
We digress. Still on the Sunday Times.
Yes.
Still on Sunday Times, former Defense Minister Danjuma reiterates call for self-defense. That story there is on page 9. Kaduna police arrest 6 suspected kidnappers, recover 4 AK-47 rifles. That story is on page 7. 2027, Isoko Nation backs Tinubu Oboriwori, vows to deliver 70,000 votes. That story is on page 6.
We did?
Well, Rosina, that's what the paper said.
Sorry, I was not informed. Which is some people? They didn't send me a memo or circular.
Wait. Well, how do you greet Isoko? Isoko
Wadu.
There we go. Isoko Wadu.
Hey. I'm not saying that they shouldn't. I don't have I'm not supporting
you pledge your votes now. Who will you vote?
The whole Isoko Nation, meaning I'm included, but I didn't get the memo.
so it should be 69,999.
Until
69,999 votes. Yeah, there we go.
I'm so sorry.
69,999 votes. Atiku Abubakar, others urge national unity, love and sacrifice. You can find that story on page 4. And pretty much all of the paper there for the Sunday Times.
Okay. All right, we're moving on now. Let's move on to the Sunday Tribune. We've got this one here. This headline you might have been seeing across all dailies' front pages. Terror attacks, Middle Belt has bled enough. Leaders tell FG want ends to incessant killings. Death toll in Benue attack now 55, says the Governor and Defense Ministry. Visits affected communities promising end to killings. I'll come back to this one. Atiku at the top. Atiku Makinde Oyebanji Mba. Others preach love at Easter, and crisis brews in Oyo community over mining activities. The Tribune there wishing you a happy Easter. And right after the big headline, 1 dead, 12 rescued as building collapse in Lagos. We just talked about that. And food insecurity, high poverty rate in Nigeria, worrisome, says the IMF. And Tinubu will win 2027 elections, presidency boasts. I don't know. Let's go back to the terror attacks, Middle Belt. This is a personal thing because I'm planning on doing a Middle Belt type tour. That would include states like Benue, especially Benue. I think Benue State is one of the largest, most interesting states in Nigeria, especially if you love natural fruits, especially vegetables. I just want to enjoy that foot on the ground in Benue State. But with these kinds of stories, it's very scary. And I'm only just saying that if you look at the bigger picture, people who actually want to travel across Nigeria and how this kind of mitigates against that. Unfortunate for tourism, really. And then there is Jos, which is supposed to be the home of tourism, peace and tourism. You can't say that anymore, unfortunately. I don't know. Your take, what do you think?
I mean, it's you put it very succinctly. It's sad, it's unfortunate, and it makes you wonder, what would happen to the tourism sector in Nigeria in its entirety. I know that there's been concerted efforts to boost tourism, local tourism for that matter. There have been talks of gearing concerted efforts into improving local tourism, and for our sites, whether it's Ubudu Cattle Ranch or Abokim Waterfalls, or whether it's Badagry or wherever it is scattered across Nigeria, and those can only happen if the locals have access to them.
I accept your challenge. Name the spot. I will go there and check for you, Judith. If there's any effort at all.
No,
I want to go and check and see how much effort has been put.
No. I'm not saying that efforts are being made to revive. I said there are talks trying to challenge gearing, concerted efforts to improve or boost local tourism. But insecurity and the issues in the middle belt is I'm sure even the talks would dissolve.
Because I was going to ask you to put your money where your mouth is, but it's okay. Sunday morning. Is this there?
Wait next week. I'll bring the money.
All right, so what else do we have? Is that all the papers we have for this morning? I am thinking that is so. We do have one from Zimbabwe, but not much on that one, as the Sunday Times. Why boats are killing people, and Zimbabwe celebrates 45 years of independence. Congratulations to Zimbabwe. That's why we actually wanted to take that one. Yay. That's not it. Yay.
Pretty much.
Yeah, it's on later. But we still do have the strips. We're about to take this. We're going to be taking the strips for this morning. Remember, I told you I wanted to draw a relationship between the situation in Nigeria and the president's absenteeism. But we're going to talk about that one inside the strips. Let's just do a very short break, get that ready for you guys, and we'll be ready to go for Breakfast Extra. Once again, you're welcome. It's still Breakfast Extra for a Sunday morning edition here. Judith, my able co-host, is still with me. And right off the bat from the dailies, let's go into the strips. Let's let people know exactly what caught our attention through the week. Now, Judith, I dread to say that this week's or the past week's cartoons or the ones that we've chosen are rather grim. Grim because Nigeria has found itself in a state of banditry and Boko Haram resurgency, and that seems to be on the front burner. It's the major topic recently. Let's show you our very first one, and regardless of anyone that we pick, I can assure you that it's not a very... Okay, fine. Okay. Let's take a look at these two youngsters on rocket ships heading to the moon. No, all the way to 2027. Their eyes set on the prize and the
tunnel vision.
Tunnel vision, indeed. We're on top of the situation. We'll get there. And they're riding on rocket ships that are spewing out gas of hunger and insecurity. And you know the individuals that they're trying to depict, they're none other than, well, a president and a certain vice president who might or might not have been locked out of Aso Villa over the week. But situation in Nigeria. Yesterday, your monologue actually talked about Nigeria being run on remote control. I took a bit of that inside of mine today. Did you see?
Yes, I did. I did. I mean, when the presidential aide said that the president is well aware of what's going on, he's still in tune and he's working remotely. And I said, I had never seen anything in my entire life, both home and away, where president is ruling remotely. Oh, well, the advent of technology. What a time to be alive. Thank you, God.
The previous list, nomination list from the previous week, remember I said something? It was all run on ChatGPT. That's why they had so many mistakes. And quite frankly, that's perhaps what happened. Don't say I said it. Let's move on now to our very next one, because we've got 3. This is one down. We've got 2 more to go. Now, the very grim reality. Let me step back for a second here. Okay, you can still see. The president deserves a befitting reception when he returns. Coming down from the plane from his trip to France, and who is going to welcome him?
Oh, no.
This is a Sukwo, by the way, for Business Day. And how grim does that look? With everything that's happening, resurgency, the deaths, the attacks. It's not just the middle belt anymore. I mean, we're having cases in Oyo as well. So what exactly is happening in Nigeria? One has to wonder. And is this the best time for the president to actually be on break, regardless of how much he actually deserves it? And I put that in dog ear quotes. Your take, Judith. What do you think?
Oh, man, this is chilling. It is chilling. This is chilling. I don't have any words to describe. I don't have the proper adjective except to say that that's a very chilling picture and really just puts into... I mean, look at the 4th corpse. That is a child.
That is a child, exactly. Oh, one of the attacks in Benue State with 55 that actually included women and children as well. And no one spared.
And then the other, the one who's right next to, the person, of course, the president, he's holding a bunch of, which would most likely be a child as well.
This is what the president would be coming back home to.
Yeah, the entourage that's going to welcome him.
If only. Let me just put it like that before.
Chilling. No words to describe it.
The last one here is from Mustafa Bilama. He draws for Daily Trust. And welcome to play to indigenes. These are the causes as suggested. Indigenes, settler dichotomy, ethnic and religious tensions, land and resource disputes, especially land and resource disputes, and governance and security failures, criminal activities and banditry. It's just a very simple picture, but it just tells you exactly what to look out for. There was a response to this one back on social media, on X actually, and a certain B21 Raider, that's BXX1 Raider, he said, the one thing you'll never say is the killings are a master plan, he says. Reduce the so-and-so population, can't say the word, grab their lands. Now, I've always talked about the fact that there is something underneath it all. It can't just be people angry at people for certain cultural, disagreements and stuff. There's something at the core, and it's minerals, I've always said. I remember posts made on Instagram and X from before where people were actually just walking the roads and you could see these minerals on the ground. It's a very rich place, Jos, Plateau State generally, and these are actually always, well, sometimes at the core of the disputes that people experience. If we can take care of that, I believe, my suggestion as an individual, a pressman, journalist, that maybe we'll begin to see what the main causes are and maybe find a solution. My take. Judith?
So I don't know what the probable cause for this will be. Minerals, yes, maybe minerals, probably, but there's a larger, sinister thing at play here, and I think it is. And our guest yesterday put it very nicely. He said at first it was ethnical cleansing, at secondly it was religious, and then it slowly became a commodified chaos, and I'd like to leave it as a commodified chaos.
On the same page.
It's clearly chaos. So whether it's minerals, whether it's ethnic, whether it's religious, one thing is certain, the chaos that is going on there is commodified, and it is a commodified terrorism, and it just needs to end.
I'm going to save that word or that phrase. I'm going to use it next time. So if you hear me saying I borrowed it from off of you, please may I have it. Thank you very much, Jim.
Thank you.
That's all we have for the strips this morning. I'm tired of standing. I'm coming to meet you, please.
Get over here. Welcome back. Now, in a country where road traffic incidents remain one of the leading causes of injury and death, the importance of clear, visible, and well understood road signs cannot be overstated. But across Nigeria, a troubling reality persists. Road signs are either faded, missing, obstructed, or simply misunderstood by drivers. From urban highways to rural back roads, the consequences are dire. Confusion at intersections, reckless speeding, and preventable accidents. While the Federal Road Safety Corps, FRSC, continues to emphasize road safety education, it's clear that poor signage is an often overlooked threat to public safety. More than just infrastructure, road signs are a form of communication, and in Nigeria, that message often gets lost in translation. Language barriers, poor public enlightenment and campaigns, and also inconsistent traffic enforcement further widen the gap between intent and reality. And so, to understand the depth of the issue, News Central's correspondent Oluwakemi Alimi went behind the scenes to explore how road signage, or the lack of it, is shaping driving behavior and road safety outcomes in Nigeria. Here's a report. Take a look.
Across major cities in Nigeria, including Lagos, road signs are meant to serve as a universal language for drivers. But the reality on our roads tells a different story. How well do Nigerian drivers, both private and commercial, understand these crucial road markers?
This road sign, it enables drivers, it cautions the drivers, it provides safety for them on the road, it gives a very clear direction, and it even prevents hazards on the road as well.
We have three types of signs. We have the warning sign. Warning sign is usually like this. It has the yellow background and the red border. Underneath, we also have two types. We have the prohibitory and the mandatory. The mandatory is telling you that for you to apply this rule, you have to obey this. That's, you have to do this. And then the prohibitory will tell you that this, do not do this.
No left turn, no right turn, no overtaking, no turn gas. Okay, no cell phone. Cell phone is prohibited. Max speed 100%.
The traffic lights, the green, the amber, and the red.
No left turn, no right turn, no U-turn, no overtaking zone, pedestrian crossing, no horning, no tricycle. That 100 max speed 100 kilometers. This is for truck heights that are way too high. No smoking, no calling, no cycling, no car zone, push carts position. Can't remember what this load lift is again. Then turn left, turn right, pass ethics, keep left, keep right. Then yeah, that's the few I know.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Please come for yourself.
No U-turn, bumps ahead, school children crossing.
But beyond compliance, a bigger issue is the state of road signs in Nigeria. Many road signs are either inadequate, faded, or completely missing. Some are placed too low to be visible, while others are damaged or defaced. And in some cases, there are no signs at all. Yet, drivers are still apprehended for violating traffic laws.
The challenge is that many of those traffic lights are not working. Nobody to even control. The last one will not be there. They will be sitting down, expect that the traffic light is working, which traffic light is not working. When the drivers are wait, they see it's still not working, they try to apply the road. When the law enforcement come, they will come to arrest you. They don't want to know, hear your explanation, what really happened.
Recently, so they hold some of our vehicles and take to Alausa. Some have to build the vehicle 70,000 upward. They say that it's one way. But actually the road is one way then. But they have removed the signboard a while ago. So everybody has accepted that, okay, this road is not one way again. Why? That's why we are using it. But if they turn it to a one way, they're supposed to replace it back. Then we will know that this is one way. We should not pass there.
The few challenges I observed while driving is, in the sense of road signs, you don't usually see signs where they are meant to be. So you could actually do a U-turn in a place where you're not meant to do a U-turn. and the police will just pop out from nowhere and just hold you.
There was a sign there before that shows no U-turn, but the sign is no more there.
The Lagos State government is not resting on its laurels, particularly the Lagos State Ministry of Transportation, who is the custodian of most of these road furnitures in Lagos. Once they found out that a particular road sign in a very location has been faded off or is about fading off, automatically they have it replaced. And I must tell you this time around, the Lagos State government through LASMA has made apprehension or enforcement so transparent with the use of traffic management solution devices now. Because once you are caught with that camera, it's an handy thing just like a phone you are holding. Once you are caught with that camera, within about 10-20 minutes, you receive a notification on your phone that you have committed a traffic offense, and it will come up with a video. And if you try to play that video, you will see your vehicle with the registration number, the time, the areas, and the location, the day at which you had committed this traffic offense.
So who is responsible for ensuring that road signs are well placed and visible? And what is being done to improve the situation?
We have taken the education away from just drivers. It has now cut across to the passengers. So we're telling them, speak up against reckless driving and drivers so that we can hear you and then combat them the more.
As Nigeria grapples with the growing concerns around road safety, the condition and clarity of road signs remain a critical piece of the puzzle. Without consistent maintenance, proper placement, and widespread public education, these vital tools lose their purpose. Maintaining and understanding road signs should be a collective responsibility and not just about avoiding fines. It's about saving lives. In Lagos, for News Central, Oluwakemi Alimi.
And ladies and gentlemen, Oluwakemi joins us now in the studio. Great to have you here with us. Thank you very much for coming through, Oluwakemi Alimi.
Thank you for having me.
I practiced like 10 times for that name, and I don't think I got the
Hold on my words.
Did I?
Alimi.
Alimi. I passed. Welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
First time on Breakfast Extra?
Yes.
Yes, indeed.
Yes.
You're welcome. We're nice people here. We're not. Judith, please.
Well, I am her. Well, it's good to have you as always, Kemi. I mean, I have to start with what inspired you to like dig into this particular story about road signs and compliance in Nigeria.
Oh, yes. Moving around and relating with people, and also from personal experience, you realize that many of our road signs are not in proper shape. There's a lot of feedback from people saying that they get to certain areas and these road signs are not there and they are apprehended. I mean, people say that, oh, perhaps there used to be a road signage there before, and then at some point, that road sign was no longer there. And there's nothing indicating, you know, and then you just drive past that same area one day and then somebody jumps on the road and apprehends
So it's a break in communication. First off, there's the fact that these signs might not be there. They were there at one point, or they've been destroyed, or maybe they've faded off. And then there's actually whether people actually understand them. Because I can see that you took these the sheet with all these road signs. How many drivers did you give a pass mark? How many would you say got over 50% and above? Because I tell you this, you drive, you've got a license. Before you got your license, you're put through this, I don't know what to call it, it's a makeshift class, but you're made to identify these road signs. And I'm wondering how many people went through that, whether they actually passed through that course before getting their licenses. So how many did get pass mark?
Okay, from the people that I interviewed, I would say that all of them got the pass mark. Yeah, I spoke with about 5 drivers, 3 commercial drivers and 2 private car owners. And from speaking with them and like doing a little tests, like a teaser on the road signs, they did well. I mean, there was a particular guy who knew almost all the road signs, and he did share with me that he had been learning from secondary school. So he really knew the road signs. And I was also impressed by the commercial drivers that I spoke with. I mean, They know it to a large extent. That is those that I spoke with.
So if you look at this, I mean, the small group compared to the large populace. So did you speak to officials? What then is the problem? Is it visibility? Is it the fading of the signage, or is it just comprehension itself?
So
or absence of even the signage completely?
So it's all encompassing. It's all of that. And in the course of this report, another thing that I realized that is some drivers actually know these road signs, but then some decide to ignore. Another thing is that some are actually faded, and you really cannot interpret. You're not sure what it is saying. Another issue is when they're not properly placed, they're not that visible, so, you know, at certain heights that you can see.
So Judith, I've got two stories. One story, you actually just kind of like alluded to one of them at the start of your submissions there. I remember this one time I took a U-turn. There's supposed to be a sign there, but it was absent. It was faded. It was just a metal board. And as I took that U-turn, this gentleman, not so gentle gentleman, jumped in front of my car. And then they're like, hey, you illegal turn, illegal turn. I'm like, whoa, what illegal turn? I turn here every time. Like, can't you see the sign? And I'm like, what sign? They're like, that sign. And I actually took them back. I'm like, show me what this sign actually says. Now, the funny thing with that instance was the fact that a couple other commercial buses, now I'm going back to what you said about the commercial buses knowing these signs and still choosing to flout them. The commercial buses had actually taken the same turning. And I took it, but I was the only one who was apprehended by the authorities. And I asked myself, why? I don't know if you came across this.
You know, you'll be missing a side mirror, and they will hold you. And
I'm not missing a side mirror.
No, I'm just using.
If I was,
I'm just using an example. You will be missing a side mirror, and a keke napep, a kurupe, and a danfo would pass, and they would not have side mirrors, all side, and they would not stop.
They would stop them.
I've seen it.
The private vehicle.
Times.
Yeah. So I don't know if you spoke to any of the authorities on these kinds of instances and how these signages, these missing signs, are being exploited by the authorities that are out there.
Okay, so for commercial drivers who seem to have an immunity,
Immunity is the word.
Immunity,
Yes.
in quote, kind of, as to breaking road signs or traffic laws. I did, you know, probe into that. And the authorities made me realize that there are a number of commercial drivers that have been arrested and taken to the mobile courts for breaking, you know, traffic rules. And it is not like they are above the law, so to say, or they have that immunity, that they also apprehend them. And they have a number of cases that they always try at the mobile courts.
It will still take some believing, you know, because from what we see is very different from what you're telling us.
Yes.
So, at the risk of making a case for this, you know, the agents, I feel like the danfo drivers are much more. They're a handful. You know what I mean? Like it's much more. They'd rather be like, yeah, I can't deal with your nonsense. So they just go. You know, go and look for another official that might be in front that will have the power to stop you and deal with you. You know what I mean? I feel like it, because to deal with those, and they are ready. Have you forgotten the video where this guy almost set his boss and the entire
Oh, the one at Maryland.
On Maryland, you know what I mean? Like, whenever they're about to dig each other out, there's always something that's got to happen. You know, either somebody gets bodily harm, you know, the whole place, there's traffic. It's a mess.
Yeah, it's do or die for them, I guess. But it's just unfortunate that private vehicles have to take the brunt of it each time these things happen. You also noted that the authorities for the signage are different. It's not the FRSC's prerogative. It's not the VIO's. It's not under their purview. No. So who exactly is responsible for these road signages and their maintenance?
It is the Ministry of Transportation.
The Ministry of Transportation. But all these other offices fall under them as well. The FRSC, the VIO, the LASMA, I'm guessing.
Okay, so the FRSC is not under the Ministry of Transportation, but LASMA is a kind of a division or subsidiary. They work together. The VIS is also under the Ministry of Transportation. And while doing this report and speaking with the LASMA PRO, he did indicate that they make reports of these faded signages, and that LASMA has a wide coverage because they have men almost in the nooks and crannies of Lagos, so they're able to make reports, and then send to the Ministry of Transportation, and the Ministry of Transportation, works on that.
Okay. What? I don't know. These nooks and crannies, you say that they have men. They really are indeed in these nooks and crannies, but I'm not sure if they're checking the signages or checking for, defaulters who, might not really be defaulting because of the poor signage.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's my take.
I was going to say something.
Yes, go ahead.
So, like you said, he also, indicated that we should know that the men don't carry arms. And some of these commercial drivers, like Judith also said, can be very crazy. So at times they're restricted. They also have records of some of them men knocked down, or assaulted, by commercial drivers. So while they still try, to make these men, commercial drivers, still obey the traffic rules and all that, and still apprehend them when they have to. The times their men also have to be careful, for their own safety as well.
All right, very wild indeed. And just talking about problems and safety, what was it like going out on the street and compiling? I know you talked about the inspiration behind it, but what were the challenges that you faced, especially talking to the authorities or the agencies in charge?
Okay. Getting to speak with authorities initially was kind of cumbersome, kind of.
Tell us.
But eventually I was able to, yes, I agree that they're very busy people, and there are a lot of things that they're doing, but at the end of the day, they gave me audience, and they were very welcoming. We even had the LASMA PRO come to our studio for an interview, and he also joined one of the breakfast shows during the week. So at the end of the day, it was worth it. Yes,
that's good. I do hope that these kinds of reports that you put together actually are seen by the authorities, and that the little challenges that we, the road users, go through with the authorities that are supposed to be either enforcing or making sure that these road signs are in good places, I hope that they see and make perhaps maybe changes here or there, especially regarding the cases of agents provocateurs. That's where the LASMA or any authority takes advantage of poor signages to extort.
Yes, talking about extorting people unnecessarily, the LASMA was able to, tell us that they now have toll-free lines that people can call, and make their complaints known or even make inquiries. And they also said they have a device now that when their men, take a shot of you and all that, and they send to you, there's a section where you can complain, you can, file a complaint, you can defend yourself.
Now we have to talk about this. Oh no. So, personal experience, I've had that situation. It was a road violation. I was, I think it was something having to do with my papers, but I had renewed them. However, the cameras caught my car after I had renewed them, but still said that I hadn't renewed my papers. Apparently, it hadn't reflected on their system. Now, I queried this to no avail. There was no proper response, no proper conclusion to it. I still had to end up paying the fine before re-registering my vehicle. And I dare say that that's the problem with most Lagosians. And I'm saying this to the authorities. That's the problem most Lagosians are going through, especially here in Lagos, that your systems don't update regularly people's payments or I almost said subscriptions, people's payments or re-registrations. And that's a problem for us. And I'm very, very scared now when it comes to the new speed laws, because I don't know whether they're actually capturing the right data. It really worries me. And driving in Lagos now has really become a very slow affair. I think it's taken out of manpower time to have people drive at such slow speeds. I think it's a bit too much. 100 kilometers an hour was what it was from the 80s. All of a sudden, 80 kilometers? I understand, but 80 kilometers itself could be dangerous to people on the roads.
Can I just ask about, you talking to the respondents as well? Did they also express their grievances with the signages, and what was the most bizarre story that you heard from the respondents?
Oh, yes. The common complaints were that there used to be a road sign here before, and you wake up one day, it's no longer there. And then you drive past, and then they're telling you that it's there.
Didn't you know?
In the course of this report, I also realized or discovered that some road signages are perhaps taken away because of those who vandalize or those who steal them. So at times they're taken away, maybe overnight for safety, and then the following day they will be hung back there. And so between that period where it's not there, perhaps you could pass through or drive through and you are safe. And then, there's something about the mind. You've driven past somewhere, you did not see the signage, and then you're driving past again, your mind has registered that, oh, there's no signage, but then you wouldn't know it's been hung back, and then you drive past and you are apprehended.
And this is a broader issue, right? Because because from what you just described, if there's a signage that's there, but they have to take it down every night because of people who go and vandalize public infrastructure, and they sell them, especially when they're metals, and then you remount them back in the morning, it does something. There's no consistency in our messaging. And that can also cause a breakdown of order. Not necessarily law, but more order. And Lagos, which is a metropolitan, the commercial nerve of Nigeria, is pretty much important. I mean, I'd like for you to speak on, consistent messaging and, also the issues that these agencies face as well.
Okay.
Conveying consistent messaging when it comes to driving and signaging.
Okay, well, they informed me that particularly the FRSC, that they organize trainings for drivers. And of course, one of the commercial drivers also told me that before getting their driver's license, at least for him, he attended such class where he was taught traffic signs, road signs, and then he took the test. But he also highlighted that some of their colleagues will not want to go through all that because they just want to be on the road to make money. Perhaps they have a way of not attending those classes. But then, from what he said and what the FRSC representative said, they do organize trainings and teachings for these drivers. And she said at times they go to the garages and do this sensitization and things like that.
Consistent messaging is important to maintain order. I mean, Olowookere, you've done very justice to this. Do you want to, very quickly, yesterday, during your live report of the collapse of that building, give us a bit of updates just for those who missed out on what happened yesterday?
Okay, so the building collapse happened at Oremeta Street in Ojudubega. It was a 3-story building, kind of not completed. The other floors were just decked, and then the ground floor was being used as the restaurant. And people said in the very early hours of the morning at around 8, some said at around 9, they just heard that sound and the building came down.
And how long have they been occupied in that building?
Oh, so, okay, from what I heard people say that the building had been there for quite some time. I cannot say
but it was incomplete.
How many years, yes.
Okay.
But then the restaurant occupied the place maybe for about 2 years, or 2 to 3 years now, before that incident. The sad incident happened.
Very sad to see, but
very sad.
I was happy to see some rescued alive in any case. And your reporters actually do go through plenty. I don't know what emotional state I'd be in after seeing such. But thank you very much for the stellar reporting that you brought. throughout our way through the week, and of course from yesterday as well. Oluwakemi Alimi is our correspondent here at News Central, and of course we're glad to have her for the first time on Breakfast Extra.
Your debut.
Your debut on Breakfast Extra.
Thank you.
We'll give you the plaque later. It's somewhere on your way out. Do stay tuned. It's our first hour done. We've still got 2 more here to round up the weekend. We've got more conversation coming your way. We'll be back.
Hello and welcome. You're watching News Central Television. It's time for us to bring you Breakfast Extra's headlines. And we begin in Rivers State, where the governor, Signage Fubara, has encouraged citizens of the state to draw strength from the resurrection of Christ. In his Easter message issued in Port Harcourt, Fubara emphasized the season as one of reconciliation, peace and unity, encouraging citizens to draw strength from the resurrection of Christ. He also urged residents to embrace love, hope and healing, and to believe in a brighter future despite challenges. The governor further called on Rivers people to continue supporting President Bola Tinubu and align with his renewed hope agenda. And now to security matters. The president of Nigeria, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has restated his commitment to the safety of both lives and property of citizens, irrespective of their social-cultural differences. The president was speaking through the Minister of Defense, Mohammed Abubakar, during his visit in Plateau State to commiserate with victims of the April 2nd killings in Basa local government area of the state by alleged herdsmen. News Central's Chizoba Nyowe, who was on the minister's entourage, quotes him as assuring that everything is being done to arrest fleeing masterminds of the attacks and bring them to justice and ensure an end to these senseless killings.
He's really committed on this, and he has directed that we must find the perpetrators of this evil and let them face justice. And the security agencies are investigating seriously, and we are on the trail, and God's willing, we'll get to the root of it, and the perpetrators will be apprehended and they will face justice. We are working as a team, the state government, the community leaders, the security agencies, and above all, the command and directive from the president that this must end. And I am sure all the security agencies, the government and the state government and the different stakeholders are on this to make sure that it doesn't happen again.
And as Christians worldwide and Christian faithfuls in Nigeria continue to celebrate the Easter celebrations, we will bring you live crossings from Delta, where we have our correspondent Austin Azu on standby to give us this live update on Easter celebrations. Where is that? Austin Azu, good morning to you, and thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning, Judith. Currently, we are at St. John Bosco's Catholic Church in Asaba. On the phone, this place was filled up, and the first Mass just ended. And of course, it's Easter celebration. I know what it means. It's all white, and thanksgiving to God for preserving this holy day to this particular moment. The Easter celebration began with the Ash Wednesday, which is the 40 days of Lent. Thereafter, we have the Good Friday, we have the Palm Sunday, and the Good Friday, and today is Easter. The celebration is like, God, thank you for this wonderful experience for us to witness another Easter celebration. Obviously, we don't know how it looks like in the pockets of individuals, how they are going to celebrate this particular day. Of course, we have Reverend Father Anthony Fred Okori with us here. Please step forward. Okay, Reverend Father, please bring us to speed. What's the harmony like?
The Easter celebration today is the heart of the church celebration. I talked about Jesus Christ conquering death and rescuing us, mankind, from sin. So celebration that gives us hope, that even when things go so bad, we have hope that we can come out from it. So the celebration of Jesus Easter is also a promise, a full promise that God gave the Israelites that He's going to rescue us from sins and death, which He has conquered today. So the Christian community, the Christian kingdom, they are happy, they are rejoicing that true, Jesus Christ is still alive with us and can help us to weather the storms of our trouble.
Okay, let's look at the current situation in Nigeria. What lessons do you think our leaders and citizens could learn from this Easter celebration?
Number one is they should be just in their action. When they think that they will oppress the poor, oppress the masses because they think they have power, they remember that even the Jews tried to oppress Jesus, but they could not. So it's a matter of time that the masses will rise up against the anomalies of this country and turn it for good. So they should know that nothing lasts forever. No evil will last forever, just for some time. And that is the hope of the masses.
All right, let's stay on that hope. We'll come back to you just in a minute. I know, of course, you'll be going in for the second mass. However, we have Mr. Okonkwo here with us. You are a father. How do you intend to celebrate this Easter, considering what is happening in Nigeria today?
Well, I will thank God for life, and thank God we are able to finish this Lenten period peacefully without any problem. Started with Ash Wednesday, then the Passion Sunday, the Holy Week, Holy Thursday, Good Friday, and Holy Saturday. And today is the Easter proper. So we thank God for being part of this celebration after toiling 40 days of fasting and abstinence and the prayers and thanksgiving. We thank God that we see the end of the Lenten period and the joy of Easter. We are praying that will be ours, and the happiness of Easter will follow us, and we continue to march on. We can't give up because of the problem of the country. We continue to pray and ask God to be with us.
Okay, thank you. Just stay tuned. All right, we have Mrs. Amanda with us. Okay, you are a mother. How do you intend to celebrate this Easter? What are you cooking? In short, tell us from the market area and from the kitchen.
Well, this Easter season is a season of joy, but as mothers, we need to celebrate it and enjoy our families. But the truth is, the things in the market are very expensive. We'll have to manage for us to celebrate this Easter. If not, it will be like sad Easter, but we are happy that God has provided. We'll be able to take care of our people and enjoy with them. At least this is a time of coming together to celebrate the family. So that's what I see.
Okay, now Easter comes with forgiveness. Easter comes with so many things enshrined in our holy book. Now, in your own perspective, what do you think our leaders should emulate, and you as an individual should emulate from this Easter?
Well, you know, Easter is the joy of Christ dying for us and rising the third day. So, but now, my own advice to the leaders is to see to the needs of the people, because things are not easy in the country and they need to be happy and share foodstuffs around the nation, or cash if they have it. But if nothing like that, somehow to the less privileged, it is meaningless. We'll be looking. It's not good to eat from the leftovers, but the government have to do something concerning this food stuff that is going high and high on a daily basis. They need to crash it. If they don't crash it, I don't think we can survive till Christmas.
Thank you, Amanda. Okay.
Sorry, Austin. Austin has been there right from Delta State, giving us because Austin has been giving us a live update from Delta as faithfuls celebrate Easter. We move now from Delta down to the capital, Abuja, where we have Joshua Marayo on standby to give us a bit of on-site reporting on Easter celebrations in the capital. Joshua, a very good morning to you. Unfortunately, you're not in your Sunday best.
Well, I am particularly we're not traveled after some, as you can see, there is service ongoing, and the host pastor seems to be giving the sermon all about the celebration of Sunday, the message to the resurrection of Christ, and the big Christians, the reading and the benefit of the resurrection of Christ around the nations.
Joshua Marai there giving us a live feed there from Abuja Chapel there as the Easter summons is continuing. Well, we're going to bring you all of that report in our subsequent bulletin, but that's all we can take for now for Breakfast Headlines at this hour. It's back to Breakfast Extra on News Central Television. I am Judith for TV. Stay with us.
And welcome back. Inside our second hour, let's do a big story. To move the signals heightened urgency in addressing Nigeria's deepening food crisis, the federal government has officially inaugurated the Agricultural Sector Working Group, ASWG, a national task force dedicated to coordinating policies and strategies across food security and also nutrition. Now, unveiled in Abuja on Thursday, April 18th, the initiative is being touted as a significant step toward combating rising hunger, stabilizing food prices, and boosting agricultural productivity across the country. According to the Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, Abubakar Kyari, the working group will bring together stakeholders across government, private sector, and civil society to promote synergy, accountability, and also result-driven interventions across the agricultural value chain. Now, while the idea of a multi-sectoral task force is promising on paper, the challenge remains in execution. With inflation still hitting double digits, farmers facing insecurity, and food systems largely underdeveloped, many are watching to see whether this new initiative can translate policy into tangible results. So, we are going to be joined by a very interesting guest who is going to help us break this down.
Oh, yes, indeed. Joining us live in the studio is Nnemeka Obiara-Eri. He's an investment banking executive and development economist, and also has a lot of interest in agriculture. And so he's joining us to, cover the important issues when it comes to food insecurity in Nigeria. Mr. Emeka, thank you so much for joining us. Or rather, Dr. Nnemeka Obiara-Eri. Because I remember your champions, I wouldn't say your fans, they sent me, please, he's a doctor. Stop saying Mr. Asa. I'm sorry, sir.
Welcome, me, sir. Good to have you.
Good to have you. So, you're champions indeed.
You've also dipped your feet into, all the way to ankle high, maybe knee high, into the agricultural sector. So you're in the best place to actually talk to us about this. Yeah. A task force set up to manage food insecurity, availability, affordability. Is this going to work?
We do not need any task force to ensure food security and turn this country into an agro hub of paradise. And I say it because I've been experienced in this industry, not just as an investment banker financing agro products and agro commodities, but as one who has put his feet on the ground and is running one of the biggest agro parks in the southeast of Nigeria. And I say it with every sense of responsibility. Nigeria has no business having food insecurity, having food prices, inflation at double digits. In fact, we should be in the best position to cover the over $90 billion food import into Africa if we do the right things. The job of the federal government is just to provide security. Security of lives and properties, provide the infrastructure, the rail network across Nigeria, working with the state government. But by the reason of the Land Use Act, the lands are still under the control of the states and local government chairmen. And the land is one of the key critical factors of production. We have the 4 factors of production. The human capital, which is the most essential, because it's the human mind that divides everything and integrates all the factors. Then the land, which is very essential. There's nothing you produce or process in the world that does not come from the earth, either on the surface, agric, or under the surface, the raw materials that you need. And then we have the capital, which is the funding, and then we have the equipment and machineries. What the federal government should be doing is to ensure 24/7 this is established security cover across every inch and breadth of the 923,000 square kilometer landmass in Nigeria. Be able to go in and do agripreneurship, provide the infrastructure, and then the policies. I give you an example.
Oh, sir, before that example, let's take a very quick short break. But please hold that thought because it sounds very important. Let's do a short break. When we come back, Dr. Obiara will continue with his submission. Welcome back. We're still on our very first big story, and we're talking food insecurity, or rather security, where the federal government has set up a new task force, the ASWG, and we have Dr. Obiara in the studio here with us, who is very vast in the topic, especially from an investment point of view into agriculture. Sir, you were going to give an example to buttress your point.
Yeah,
okay.
before the break.
There was a time in this country we used to have the steer group that produced tractors, assembled tractors in Nigeria.
Yeah.
They are no longer here. And like I was trying to explain, there are 4 factors of production. Here in Nigeria, we have over 210 million Nigerians who are less than 65 years old, active working population. We have 72 million farmers who are not producing enough because of insecurity, wrong farm practices, and all the rest of them. We have farms, farm equipment, and agro-processing materials. We don't produce any of them here. A right, smart thinking government should put 0 tariff. Tractors, farm implements, bulldozers, processing plants, so that
on importation.
On importation, yes, because these are actually one of the key factors that catalyzes productivity in the agro sector. Annually, we lose over 3.5 trillion naira on post-harvest losses. All the equipments, from dryers to processors to transport trucks and air conditioned trucks, are not produced here in Nigeria.
Just a second, sir. Now,
Yes.
I'm very interested in agriculture, but when you talk about 0 tariffs on these equipment and tractors and harvesters and all of the rest, you're talking about a situation where we are all well and good into a large-scale mechanized farming. That's not something that we see here in Nigeria. That is most of the commodities that we have all come transported in from Benue, from Sokoto, and these are just small-scale farmers who put a harvest together and then ship it down to the urban areas.
And that is where the state government and local government chairman comes in. The federal government of Nigeria only need to provide, I'm just trying to dimension it, what the federal government of Nigeria should be doing. Provide security of lives and properties, put in place policies that ensure that all the critical equipments we cannot produce here, but whether we need to process across the whole value chain, do tariff-free. Because without those equipments, we cannot process, you cannot export. I'll give you an example.
Don't you think the working committee can be able to do that, or
they can do that. The Minister for Agriculture is a member of cabinet. He's a member of FEC. He should produce a product paper to the government. But of course, you need to make a case for it. You need to dimension it in terms of numbers. As I sit down here, I will show you critically, line by line, sector by sector, across the value chain, how we can sweat nothing less than $350 to $500 billion revenue into Nigeria from the agri sector. Netherlands, less than 200,000 people involved in agriculture. We're talking about commercial agriculture. And how do they do it? Less than 200,000. Every year, arable land mass, less than 1.5 million hectares. They do 122 billion euro export annually. They have over 1,025,000 tractor population. They have over 350,000 greenhouses. How do they do it? And in Nigeria, we don't have most of those things. For Nigeria to be able to execute high-tech mechanized agriculture, in the arrangement that we've always listed, I call it the missions, community, diaspora, private-public partnership arrangement. You raised a very important issue. What we are doing is not agripreneurship. What we are doing is farming. Because we've not done it the way they've done it. In order to go and check the top 5 food producing and exporting nations, how have they done it? You cannot invent it.
How did we do the groundnut pyramids?
I am coming to that. In the early 60s, go and look at what Ahmadu Bello did, what Obafemi Awolowo did, and what Michael Obada did. Within a space of 6 years, 214-kilometer agro-industrial belt, from the 4,200 hectares Iroyi farm settlement to the 6,000 hectares rubber latex settlement in Ihe, to the 4,200 hectares Adapam plantation. God even did even better. How did they do it? What we are doing is not agriculture. You create agro-industrial clusters where you aggregate before movement. I'll give an example now. I sit down here. I was privileged in 2009 to speak to the PDP Governors Forum. And I was very particular. I dimensioned it region by region what they can do. And I said to the northern governors, you have 60 million hectares arable land mass. Sambisa is 6.6 million hectares. Toro is one of the most beautiful places in Bauchi State. 6,000 hectares rich with. I dimensioned and I showed them, I said, if you want to create $200 billion wealth, without looking at Fak and Jack from Abuja or from Niger Delta, look at what you will do. Dimension your region into 2,500 clusters, 2,000 hectares to 4,000 hectares. It will take 6 million to 12 million per sector. What will you do? Each sector will have at least 2,200 dairy farmers. In Netherlands, they have 18,260. Let me tell you how it works. It's all synthetic and integrated. The herdsmen, you provide arrangement for them. Within that 2,000, 4,000 clusters, you have 2,200 pastoralists, those are the nomadic herdsmen. The animal poo-poo that
that is produced is used, you biodigest it to produce maggots, to produce organic fertilizer for the farmers. The farmers will cultivate things like legumes, maize, and other things. And you have 500 hectares of date palm plantation for the oils of wealth. Then all that the government will do within those clusters is to provide agro rangers. Each cluster will have at least 300 agro rangers, fully trained, equipped, and armed under the supervision of National Security Advisor and the governor. Each of the centers. Now let me tell you what will happen. When you have these centers, 2,000 hectares for the farmers, you have, because a cow, to raise one cow, takes about 2 acres of land. It takes about 17 million acres of land to be able to raise at least the 9.5 million cows, 19.5 million cows we have in Nigeria. This arrangement will unlock over $250 million. Basically, what will happen? The man who has 3 cows will take it to that center. The man who has 4 cows will take it to that center. You provide them the ranging field. You provide them the foliage. The maize farmer, after harvesting his maize, the corn silage is stripped and mixed with other things to produce enough food for the cows. You train people on the best agro practices. You put processing plants within those clusters. Each of those clusters will take $6 million to $12 million to do, and each of those clusters will produce about $42 million.
So I see what you're describing here. It's a chain of
it's
products.
A cycle, it never
it's a cycle,
ends.
exactly.
That is what, if you go to China, you will discover, today China is doing their trade fair. You will see in every region they have industrial zones, from Guangzhou to Shanghai, where they have everybody have their own area.
These are ideal suggestions you're making. The ASWG, however, since they've been given a mandate to make these policies, is it impossible for them to make similar policies like the ones that you have just described?
Very simple. I say, let me tell you, I will provide them with all the working documents. We have a 400-page developed document on this. My brother, it's a no-brainer. We are practically doing it in Anambra State, in Abia State, because let me tell you, I'm from Imo State. Ask me, how come I'm not developing agro clusters in Imo State? Because I lost so much money. We built an ultra-modern 20,000 litre per day oil mill, set up an agro park where we are trying to do piggery. China consumes $54 billion worth of pig and pork every year. In Southern Africa, the Chinese here consume about $3 billion worth of pork. They bring it in from South America and other places. We had an arrangement with them to produce for them, and how we can set up clusters in the southeast, because there is allowed. There's a part of Nigeria where they don't allow it. We set up to do 100, we started with a colony of pigs. Those pigs were slaughtered and eaten in less than 3 weeks by unknown gunmen.
Wow.
The factories were destroyed because of insecurity. That was why
insecurity is at
in
the
Imo, yes,
even in Imo State is still at the core of the challenges. But
even in Abia, it was like that until LXO became governor.
Now, Dr. Berry,
it has improved.
If this ideal situation, God given, is put in place by the ASWG, what advantage for exports? And what countries and how can we exploit these export opportunities?
God bless you. We're not even looking outside Africa. Under the African Free Trade Arrangement, the ACFA framework, Africa imports over $90 billion worth of food.
From what countries?
From other countries, from Asia, from Vietnam, from the US, from China, from India, and all the rest of it. Nigeria stands at a place to provide that supply to cover up that domestic supply gap. I'll give you an example. In 1965, Nigeria was controlling 45% of the global palm oil value chain. Today, that market is $82 billion size, controlled 85% by Indonesia and Malaysia. It will shock you that in 2022, we imported $570 million worth of palm oil. 2021, we imported $370 million worth. Nigeria, to cover the supply gap, we consume 2.4 million tons. We produce only 1,050,000 tons. To cover that gap, I am developing clusters of the hybrid species. I have over 1 million of them in our clusters where we're doing 30,000 each. It will take 85 million trees, cultivating 400,000 hectares of the land, and setting up 680 cottage factories. These things can be done within 2 years. Government, they are not supposed to provide money. It's to provide policy, program, bulwark for the private sector. But basically what we know, since the governments have refused to do what we have done.
But isn't that what they're trying to do now with the ASWG? I don't know if you agree with me.
Yeah,
do you think that it's totally impossible for...
The thing about our government, and I just want to bring the tempers down, the thing about the government is, number one, at every juncture, there's always a committee that is created. It's either a national working committee, a state working committee, a steering committee. There's always a committee.
A repositioning committee.
Let's put the committees aside. let's talk about the issues that you've pointed out. You talked insecurity, logistics, and mechanization. But I would like for us to settle on insecurity, which still is an issue. Away from food, is still an issue that we're dealing with in communities and mourning, right? And you said something. The states and the local government councils, they are important when it comes to assuring success.
Key and critical.
Critical in success when it comes to the lands and logistics and the network of the rails. But what about insecurity? Does the bulk also end at the local government and the state governors?
Let me show you how you can use this MCDPP framework to curb insecurity. I'm from Imo State. Like I told you, I'm from Okigwe in Imo State. And I will tell you, insecurity thrives when unlawful terrors have intimidates the community and the people. Only lawful terror can deter and subdue unlawful terror. And what is that lawful terror? I'll give an example. In my state, we have 305 electoral wards. If there are no forests for unknown gunmen and bandits to go and hide, if the forests are recovered and turned into agro-wealth, and those youths who are being misguided are given lawful employment that gives them at least 150 to 200,000 every month in the village, I tell you, insecurity will be slain within 6 months.
I think it's easier said than done. I'll give you examples. I'll give you examples. In Cross River State, there was one of the largest palm oil companies. It was from Malaysia. I keep forgetting its name.
Weimar Group.
Fantastic.
Weimar Group.
And it was during, what's his name now?
Weimar PZ Partnership.
PZ, fantastic.
Yes.
And they were seated at particular hectares. I think it was Unugep or Itigidi local government area. When the youths went there for jobs, they had to go to the criteria, which is making sure that they met the qualification. They nearly, I'm paraphrasing the governor now, the then governor, he said they nearly burned down that plantation because of, number one, that the youth were unsatisfied with the jobs they were getting, the stipend that they were getting, or better yet, the land that was ceded to them. And he said, we brought this for employment, but there's still a criteria that you have to meet to be employed. So how do we need the parameters? Because if the youth are not gainfully, if the youth don't meet the job specifications or the requirements, how are they going to get the jobs?
That you would have allowed me to land. The nation's community diaspora, private public transit work that we developed is one that gives the youths and the communities ownership of the project. Land in the south is not like in the north. It's highly contested. People are always very shy or very careful. You come and take the ancestral land out over somebody. The arrangement we had, I'm trying to give you the example. We have 305 electoral wards in the southeast. And I here suggest to the governors or those in local government chairman. In my own community, we surveyed over 178 hectares of land, right? And the arrangement is very simple. Let us decide we want to do 100 hectares of palm plantation, which we can easily do, and intercrop it with the food crops that can be harvested within 6 months, 3 months for quick cash. We ask the community, you have this 178 hectares, donate 100 hectares. We are not taking it away from you. These 100 hectares will be incorporated under, and from Amago Incorporated Cooperative, right? We parcellate it into 1 hectare. I run CFAP code, and I know how land is with the communities. When you don't carry them along, you're creating wahala. These 100 hectares, each of them, we are going to own 1 hectare under that cooperative. We produce the mechanized equipment, bulldozers, we clear the place. Government give us borehole, provide infrastructure. The community nominates 20 of their sons who act as agro-rangers. Agro-rangers fully captured, fully registered, with security points to provide security for that axis. Now let me tell you what happened. The land belongs to them. I, as a private sector investor, I am providing them with seedlings. I am doing it under what I call vendor financing. I'm giving you the seedlings. When you start harvesting, I will offtake everything at a great price. Local government chairman, we are working with them under SPB. We are paying them enough stipend. Now let me tell you what will happen. At the end of every harvest, that is the one what we have proposed. You deduct the cost of running the place, the cost of the stipend, and the community owns at least 30% of the profit from that angle. What we have, you have given them ownership. They are not losing their land. They are protecting the place. If you do 100 hectares in every of the electoral ward, we're talking about 1.3 trillion revenue. Across the whole value chain.
Very quickly, because we're pressed for time. Do you think that the government has lost its will for improving our agricultural sector because of our over-dependence on crude oil? Very quickly.
It's not just losing their way. It's a combination of incompetencies, lack of compassion, lack of empathy, lack of patriotism. Michael Okpara was a 39-year-old medical doctor who loved his people. He had this policy: affordable food on the table of every member of the Old Eastern region. And in a period of 7 years, he created 2 fortnightly industrial belts, grew the fastest growing economy in the whole of the Commonwealth, had the most efficient police force, that when they were having problem in one of the Central African Republic, they asked for his police force to come and make peace. One thing that differentiated Michael Okpara, Obafemi Awolowo, Desmond Bakwe, Lateef Jokonde, with the current crops of leaders we have now, is the issue of having that will.
But those times were times where that was pre the oil boom. Because if you're calling times that was pre
1979 to 1983, that was oil boom.
That was oil boom.
Yes, we have Lateef Jokonde, we have Desmond Bakwe, we have Jim Nwobodo. Go and look at what Sam Bakwe did in from the chicken poultry to the golden chicken. Go and check what this guy. See, let me tell you, my sister. The truth is, there is no state governor in Nigeria that cannot raise $10-20 billion from the agro value chain in their state. If they can humble themselves and come down from their high horses, pro bono will provide them with all the services that they need. Pro bono, we're going to charge them. The truth is, these guys have been, let me tell you, we pay much emphasis on Abuja. Abuja is only supposed to provide the policy, the security, and program. This network thing. Look at the late Enugu State is doing. Look at what Peter Mbai is doing. Despite the fact that Peter is just scratching 20%, but you can see that Peter has some direction. Peter Mbai has direction in how these things can be done.
I always love the passion with which you speak each time we bring you in to speak, whether this time about agriculture, from before about the oil sector here in Nigeria. But unfortunately, we never have enough time. I would love to let you keep going for hours. There's so much wealth from everything you're saying. We're hoping that the ASWG would actually go the way that you have just suggested now. Yeah. Make the policies that work, especially that suggestion regarding bringing in zero duty-free or tariff-free mechanized infrastructure for farming in Nigeria. Right. We'd like to say thank you very much for always honoring our invitation, this time in agriculture, and we look forward to some of your passionate conversation even next time. Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Stay tuned. It's still a half hour down for the middle hour here for Breakfast Extra. We've still got some conversation inside. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Another big story here for Breakfast Extra. In a case that has captured national attention, a teenager who went viral for standing in front of Peter Obi's convoy has been freed after spending nearly 3 months in detention. The teen, Alabi Quadris, was initially arrested under controversial circumstances, sparking debate over the handling of his case by law enforcement and the judiciary. Despite being detained for over 2 months, the court ruled that there was insufficient evidence to warrant his continued detention, ultimately leading to his release. The case has raised significant questions about the treatment of minors in Nigeria's justice system and the use of detention as a punitive measure for acts of protest or perceived defiance. While the police defended the teenager's detention, claiming it was justified for investigative reasons, many have criticized the actions as an overreach and an infringement on his rights.
This incident has brought to light the broader issue of how minors are treated in the Nigerian legal system, especially in situations involving public figures and protests. The controversy surrounding the case also underscores the delicate balance between law enforcement, the protection of individual rights, and the role of social media in influencing public opinions. And so we have a report from earlier this week. Let's roll that report, and afterwards we'll bring in our guest. Take a look.
Before the same ballet of the...
This image of Alabi Quadris, arms outstretched, and Peter Obi's smile in response gained widespread attention after he stood in front of the Labour Party presidential candidate's convoy during the 2023 election. However, Quadris' life took a drastic turn after his moment of fame.
In February, we organized a football match between Kirikiri inmates and Twitter influencers. So we got to know about one guy. That was there. He was owing the sum of 1.2 million naira, and that was why he was locked up. So after we helped that guy leave prison, he told us about Quadris.
this family has been continuously witch-hunted since 2023. Let me also place on record that this was the second time that Quadri has been arrested. The first time, the same area boys took him before the same ballet of the community, and they demanded that part of the monies donated to Quadri be given to them. In fact, I can also tell you that the ballet of their community specifically told Quadri's mother to buy a cow with rice and cook to appease the youths. At that time, we did not hear about it. So in January, he was returning from work at night when two boys grabbed him, dragged him to the Amokoko Divisional Police Headquarters, and told the DPO that Quadri was involved in street fighting. To our greatest dismay, on the 27th of January, the police brought him before the same court to be remanded, only for them to get to court, and they were told that Quadri was being wanted in connection with a case of armed robbery.
It was revealed that Quadri, the 17-year-old minor, had been arrested and remanded at the Kirikiri Medium Security Correctional Center with his age misrepresented.
I am calling on behalf of the family that the DPO of Amokoko must be removed immediately, and that even the IPO and other officers who were involved in this very devilish act of framing up a minor for armed robbery must be made to face orderly room trial. We are also demanding that the police must pay the sum of 100 million to Quadri, having been detained since January illegally. Lastly, we demand a public apology from the Nigerian police. Currently, Quadri and the family are under constant threat. We may have to find a way to relocate them from where they are staying because they are not safe. They have been, even at that this morning, before they came to court, they still went back to threaten them.
Quadri's fortunes changed when Magistrate Adetola Olorunfemi of the Apapa Magistrate Court in Lagos discharged Quadri, ordering his release. As Quadri reunites with his family, many are left wondering about the countless others who may be languishing in detention centers across Nigeria.
Many things they are doing for me, but I will say, man, I know that God will move me for this condition where I'm at. I want to go to school. Yes.
That's my last born. Last born, meaning. Ọmọ mẹ́rin péré náà ni mo bí. Owó òtún ọ̀kan ilé nìkan la gbà níbẹ̀. So ẹ fẹ́ rí sójú àtọ́ ipe yes bó ṣe ń rìn. Ọmọ yìí dẹ̀ ń lọ síbi iṣẹ́. Ṣó ti yé yín? Àmọ́ mo dúpẹ́ lọ́dọ̀ Ọlọ́run, mo dẹ̀ dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ gbogbo ẹ̀yin tó kù àgàgà lọ́ọ̀yà ẹ̀.
Many say Quadri's journey from fame to detention and ultimately freedom serves as a shocking reminder of the complexities and challenges within Nigeria's justice system. In Lagos, for News Central, Igbalani Omani.
And now to discuss, first of all, many thanks to Igbalani Omani there for that in-depth report. And now to discuss the legal, ethical, and social ramifications of this case, we're joined by Betty Abba. She's a renowned children and family rights lawyer, and she joins us live to bring us a bit of provider expertise on the legal aspects of this case and also explore the broader implications of the rights of children and young adults in Nigeria. Betty, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you for doing this with us. A very heartbreaking story, heartbreaking, heart-wrenching to watch. What was your reaction at first when you heard the story and the 3 months that he has spent in cell?
Thank you very much. I think what occurred to me, and which is also quite often, is that we are not a child-friendly country. We do not take the rights and protection of children seriously, both at individual and at institutional level. And that if this could happen to Quadri, who actually came to what we could describe as international limelight, it can happen to any other person on the streets. Imagine being detained in the police station, the Amokoko police station, for a week and then 2 months for an offense which he obviously didn't know anything about. And the fact of the lack of accountability, the sagging nature of law enforcement in Nigeria, the very problematic issue with our legal system, the judiciary, and the fact that majority of Nigerians, especially people from low-income communities and marginalized communities, are extremely vulnerable You could just be walking on the streets and then you're picked and then you just disappear. You could be in prison for years. We see this all of the time, both with adults and with children. We really need to do a lot more with regards to how we treat fellow human beings, and especially children who are extremely, extremely vulnerable.
So what's the Nigerian legal framework for handling minors in detention or in these kinds of cases? Let's establish that.
Quadri was not supposed to be anywhere near the Greek maximum prison. He's a minor. Even if we assume that he committed the offense, he was supposed to have been remanded at a juvenile facility, which wasn't even the case. And I'm sure at some point the mother would have told the DPO and others handling the case that this is a boy. But we also want to ask, how knowledgeable is the police with regards to knowledge, information about child protection and how to treat adults and minors? So it's extremely worrisome. We have the Nigeria is signatory to the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child. Nigeria has the Child Rights Act of 2003. Lagos State domesticated the act, and Lagos State itself has the 2017 Child Protection Policy. Are law enforcement agencies even familiar with these laws?
So what do the laws say specifically regarding handling minors?
So when he's a minor, even if he had committed that offense, he was supposed to be treated as someone, as a minor in conflict with the law. He was not supposed to have been detained for 1 week. And even if that is if he had done it, he would have been tried in a juvenile court, not an adult court.
So do we have these juvenile courts even here in Lagos? One, do we have juvenile detention centers in Lagos?
We do have juvenile detention centers
what are their
in Oregon.
States in,
in Oregon, which is very active. But obviously, this was not about a crime being committed. This was not about he being guilty or not. This is all about vindictiveness and the corruption in the Nigerian police force. You could be very sure, and I'm very certain, that money must have exchanged hands. This is the same country where people take up their neighbors, their enemies, so-called, and get the police to arrest them and get them detained indefinitely. So this is what it's all about. So the police is actually one of our biggest problems, police and politicians, of course, in this country. And except we're able to deal with the rot, the compromise, the very pitiable state of law enforcement in Nigeria, people will continue to be very vulnerable to this kind of situation.
And the vulnerability is being exploited, isn't it?
Yes, especially poverty particularly is being weaponized against citizens. We've had so many cases like this. People just walk on the streets and then they're picked up, and because they're not able to bribe their way through the police setting, they end up in jail. And then some spend years. Quadris happens to be lucky because someone brought attention to his case, and then he's in Lagos where the media's spotlight is so much. There are so many other people languishing in jail, in detention facilities across the country, and you can imagine how charismatic, how driven Quadri is to have even been shot to spotlight in the first place, to carry out that stunt with Peter Obi's presidential campaign convoy. So imagine so many people with possibilities, with potentials, are languishing in prison.
The lawyer, one of his legal counsel was making statements saying that he seemed to have been witch hunted, and this is not the first time.
Yes.
And what do you say about that? This seems to be a very peculiar case.
Yes. Yes. So it also goes a long way to it shows the compromised state of law enforcement. For we're all citizens, we all have equal rights, and then because I happen to have a higher financial power, I can get you detained just by bribing the police. That is what it was all about. Because we're going to ask, what was the level of investigation into the case? Now the lawyer has asked, because he was paraded, he was taken to court with 4 adults, and then they claimed that he was involved in robbery operation. You know that the police does that all of the time. And Quadri does not even know these people. They are people that are completely unfamiliar with him. So it was just a setup. And the fact that the police can set up fellow human beings The police is supposed to be our friend. They're law enforcement agents. Are supposed to ensure law and order, the protection of life, especially vulnerable lives. If that could be used against those vulnerable people, then we really need to sit back and have a review of the setup in our police force and see how there can be like a drastic change. Look at what's happening with the Lagos State Police now. Rather than taking accountability, rather than apologizing, rather than punishing the officers involved, they are covering up. They are doubling down on the accusation. Even when the Lagos State Directorate of Public Prosecution had come out to say Quadri was, they had acquitted Quadri, the police is still doubling down and claiming that he was involved in street fights, he was involved in armed robbery. I mean,
justifying why he could.
Justifying why. So how are they going to go around to punish the officers involved when they already justified the action?
So what are the bigger implications on this for freedom of speech, for example, especially for young people and young adults? We are in an era where we see people taking to social media and expressing themselves. What are the implications on freedom of speech?
So there's a clampdown on freedom of expression. And most of us feel that the law enforcement agents, the people in power, the institutions themselves are not on our side. Because what the police is doing is emboldening corruption, they're emboldening impunity. And so that will embolden other officials to continue to be used by dubious characters to witch hunt and to punish innocent people, knowing that the organs will always justify their action. And then people will not be able to speak up because, of course, especially people from marginalized population, demographics like that of Quadri, because they know they don't have anyone backing them and the government is against them, and the big people, the government is siding with the big people, the people that are influential. We're talking about the ballet in Quadri's community, the area boys. This was a very obvious case of witch hunting. Rather than the police arresting the ballet, arresting the boys, and the officers that were involved in the entire carriage, they are trying to justify and cover up their tracks,
With the police
which sends a very wrong message.
With the police doubling down on the reasons for their actions, what legal recourse do you think that Quadri and his defense team have?
Yes, I think Inibehe Effiong is doing a very excellent job by holding the police accountable. It's just like fire for fire. He's not stepping back, and he's demanding for apology from the police for compensation of 1 million naira. If I were 100 million, yes, I would have asked for maybe 1 billion, because that is a major, previous attack, a violation of his human right, of his child's rights. The mother says he is 17 years. The mother says he was born in 97, but the police say he's 18. So I will ask the police, were you the one that gave birth to the boy? And so I think they're doing the right thing by asking for compensation, for an apology. And I think that if this happens, it will send this very strong message that impunity cannot continue either from the institutions or from individuals. There are people that always call for accountability. There are people that always put a searchlight on these impunities and attack on our human rights as citizens.
It's a very, very sad situation indeed. And it just brings to fore other minors that have slipped through the cracks. He talks about how his popularity, his notoriety helped this case gain the prominence that it did. And so for persons who might be watching this and know a minor or might just find themselves in this situation, God forbid, what would then be, what can they do? Who do we reach out to?
I think they should reach out to NGOs around them. They should reach out to, we have a lot of social media influencers. Someone like a very dark man that is doing the work of an entire institution, calling for accountability. even if
not really my favorite photo shoot, but
you may not like him, but I think he's been very efficient. Yes, he's been very efficient at what he does. But advocacy, calling for accountability, exposing some of these things. And we've seen some of the results with the prison and some of these things. And I think there's people can also take to their own social media, because the police time and time again have proven that they're really not on our side. There are exceptional cases where they do well. But I think people have to take, to stand up, to seek redress. by whatever means is available to them, rather than keeping quiet. We've had a case of a boy who was tortured in a market in is it Ikponri market, one of the markets around, because he was set up. His friend stole money and claimed that he stole the money together, cooperative money. His aunt was in charge of the cooperative. And then the boy ran away, so they caught the boy and tortured him, turned him upside down. He nearly died. He was hospitalized for 2 weeks. Now, some people got in touch. I think Punch reported it, and then they decided to report it to the police station and all of that. At the end of the day, the people were arrested and then released, rather than charged to court.
Such impunity.
So it's all about who is able to bribe the police to see that the case is not taken forward. And then we're lost.
This police thing that you
And
just
then
said.
people cannot get justice. And this is just a little boy. So it's almost like the same thing that happened to Quadri. We've had cases of a teenager being raped, and then the father of the victim being arrested because the people involved in the gang rape were very children of very influential members of the community.
That's very
local chief and all of that. So I think we have a lot to do with regards to the miracles.
Starting with rights education.
Yes, rights education and the state of our law enforcement. It really has to be addressed.
Ms. Betty Abba, I want to say thank you very much for giving us your time and sharing with us your opinion on the matter, expert opinion. Thank you very much. We hope that Quadri is, well, the threats, we hope that they stop and that maybe he's compensated as he should. Yes. Thank you once again.
Thank
you.
Do
stay tuned to our viewers. We've got one more hour inside of Breakfast Extra. We'll be back.
Back. It's time for us to bring you breakfast headlines on Breakfast Extra here on News Central Television. I am Judith TV. The death toll from the building collapse, which occurred on Saturday morning in the Ojodu-Bega area of Lagos, has risen to 20, while 15 people have so far been rescued alive. This was disclosed to News Central by the Director of Lagos State Fire and Rescue Service, Margaret Adesheye. The three-story uncompleted building located on Oremeta Street in the Ojodu-Bega area reportedly housed a local restaurant and came down at around 8 a.m. Emergency teams from the Lagos State Emergency Management Agency are continuing search and rescue operations at the site. And now to security matters. The President of Nigeria, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has restated his commitment to the safety of both lives and property of citizens, irrespective of their social-cultural differences. The President was speaking through the Minister of Defense, Mohammed Abubakar, during his visit in Plateau State to commiserate with victims of the April 2nd killings in Bassa local government area of the state by alleged herdsmen. News Central Chizoba Anyonwe, who was on the minister's entourage, quotes him as assuring that everything is being done to arrest fleeing masterminds of the attacks and bring them to justice and ensure an end to these senseless killings.
The President is really committed on this, and he has directed that we must find the perpetrators of this evil and let them face justice. And the security agencies are investigating seriously, and we are on the trail, and God's willing, we'll get to the root of it, and the perpetrators will be apprehended and they will face justice. We are working as a team, the state government, the community leaders, the security agencies, and above all, the command and directive from the president that this must end. And I am sure all the security agencies, the government and the state government and the different stakeholders are on this to make sure that it doesn't happen again.
The River State Governor, Siminalayi Fubara, has encouraged citizens of the state to draw strength from the resurrection of Christ. In his Easter message issued in Port Harcourt, Fubara emphasized the season as one of reconciliation, peace, and unity, encouraging citizens to draw strength from the resurrection of Christ. He also urged citizens to embrace love, hope, and healing, and to believe in a brighter future despite challenges. The governor further called on Rivers people to continue supporting President Bola Tinubu and align with his renewed hope agenda. And that's all the major headlines we can take at this hour. Join us at 12 noon for the full bulletin. And now it's back to Breakfast Extra. I am Judith at TV. Stay with us.
Welcome back once again. Now, Nigerian theater is the subject. Once a vibrant force in the nation's cultural landscape, experienced a significant decline in the 1990s, overshadowed by the rise of Nollywood television and also the burgeoning influence of social media. Who can forget? However, in recent years, there has been a notable resurgence, particularly among the younger generation eager to revive the stage. Some initiatives have empowered Nigerian youth through performing arts, addressing critical issues such as social media addiction and also peer pressure, and fostering a movement of self-expression and social change. Despite the resurgence, challenges persist. The dominance of digital content, coupled with limited infrastructure and funding, poses significant hurdles. Yet the renewed interest and efforts by young creatives signal a potential turning point. So, to delve deeper into this revival and its prospects, we are joined by two very interesting individuals here with us inside of the studio. First off, we have Ibi Koten. She's founder and creative director of Savvy Arts, a platform that is dedicated to nurturing and showcasing Nigerian theater. And also Mercy Jackson, who is an actor. A stage actor, let's put it so. Ladies, you are welcome. Good to have you here.
Thank you for having us.
Grand.
Thank you for coming on.
Judith, please, let's begin with our guests here.
Oh, yeah, I mean, a revival. Would you say it's a revival or re-emergence?
I'd say it's the evolving of theatre, and theatre is evolving because the audience has evolved. Right. So producers and directors had to change storytelling, adjust that to what the new audience demands. If not, you're not going to have people showing up to plays. In terms of if theatre is fading out, we have adjusted because people are looking to see stories that they can relate to. We do not want to dwell more on historical plays or things like that. People want to come and have a shared experience. So it's an evolving.
It's evolving. Would you say the same as well, Messi? Is it evolving for you, or it's a re-emergence?
Well, yeah, I think it's an evolving, like she said, she just basically explained it, because our audience has changed, and so we have to change.
Has the audience changed? You are on stage more.
Yeah.
And you're the one who's interpreting all the roles and characters for the audience. So how have they changed?
So the way they are more reactive to the things that we say, to the stories that we tell, and the way they relate to it, because we tell stories that they relate to. And, at some point, you see how they react to the things that we say. So, yeah, that's the evolving.
Okay. I'm going to say let's unplug this for a second there and then replug it. Let's take a look at what theater used to be like back in the 80s or 90s. 80s? No. 90s maybe.
80s and 90s.
But it was really robust. It had that grr about it back in the 80s, and then all of a sudden it left. I'm wondering what factors were responsible, or challenges perhaps might have been responsible for it seemingly dying, and what's responsible for it coming back now. I see a lot of young people like yourselves who are into theater, and I'm wondering what hope for it, especially as it battles like the factors that we've mentioned, the social media, especially social media. There is attention span. People can't stay focused for longer than 20 seconds anymore. This is because of social media, your scrolls and everything. So to stay in one spot and watch an hour and 40 minutes of theater could be very challenging for most people mentally. So take a look at the 80s, the 90s, and theater, and then compare it to what we have now. And what's different?
The one thing that we had then that we still have now is the interactive part of theater. Because it is a live experience, it's an immersive experience. Nothing beats that intimacy, right? And then it started to fade out because then streaming platforms came into the mix. And like you mentioned, attention spans became shorter. So people were looking for what is the fastest means of entertainment for me. I'm not going to go to the theater to see a play when I can, stay at the comfort of my home and stream a movie. And why it started coming back is because, again, the intimacy returned. When younger people started getting, into theater, we know what works for us, what would make me sit through a play. It's the same thing that would make someone my age or 10 years older or younger sit through that same play. So personally, I write very interactive plays because if I want to convince you to sit through an hour, 40 minutes, it has to be, is this person enjoying this experience? You may not necessarily enjoy an experience that you cannot relate to a story that you cannot understand, right? So with theater, there is a lot of callback and response because that is the beauty of a live performance. There are lines written particularly for the audience to respond. And if it is delivered right, if the blockings are done right in directing, if the actors deliver it right, then it works. And that is why you have people sitting through an hour, 40 minutes and telling you, oh, I did not know that so much time had happened. When next are you doing a play? Because that callback and response, they see a story they relate to. You use proverbs and things that, they know the ending of. So that punchline delivered because they know the callback response. So that intimacy, that interactive nature, it's been brought back.
But hasn't it always been? Because I remember also 80s, 70s, and even 90s and early 2000s, when you look at the wire curriculum or any examination class curriculum, there were plays in it. Olaro to me, Husbands Have Gone Mad Again, The Gods Are Not to Blame. There were plays
remember that one.
that we read as curriculum. You had to write an examination in that, whether you're doing literature or even in junior secondary. And there was call and response on there, and so you're a creator as well. How are you borrowing from the past and incorporating contemporary future in your piece?
So the one thing, again, that I have brought in is that interactive nature. Now, why it sort of faded out, why what happened in the 80s and 90s, sort of faded out before it's being brought back now, is because these are not stories that people now can relate to. If an Olarotimi or an Ikeja Mechanic was to come back and do that work, it would sell to an older audience, right? But it would not sell to a younger audience. And these
are you trying to call us old? It's okay, we get it. Sorry.
No.
I understand.
But these are the people that are coming, to see plays today. So we have to construct that for them. Now, if you were to do an adaptation of an Olarotimi play or The Woman of Calabar, Her Husband Has Gone Mad Again, Ikeja Mechanic, all that would have to be rewritten, right? It cannot be a page-by-page adaptation. You have to infuse the things that are happening now into that.
So how are you doing that with your own play? With your own work?
I would really like for Mercy to actually tell us, because you see the audience, you interpret these roles for the audience. So have the audience changed? How are you bringing the old ones, the young ones together with the same expression?
Okay. Honestly, I think a lot of the work goes to the writer and the director, because that's where the words that the actors speak, that's where it comes from, right? And so that's the writer will bring those, will merge it. The actions that we take, the steps, everything that we do on stage is what is in the script, right? And the person directing has that vision.
So when you say writer, do you mean the screenwriter?
No.
Or the writer?
The script writer.
The script writer.
Okay.
I have to ask you, Mercy, the trajectory of actors have changed. Back in Mommy Joke Silva and the greats, they started on stage and then they metamorphosed to become on the silver screen. Right now it's the reverse, right? People are going from social media, silver screens to stage performance. I wonder how it's like for you, and whether that puts pressure on you as a performer.
Oh, personally, it doesn't. I believe art. I experience art in stage. I personally, this is just a personal view, right? And I think it is deeper there because there's a lot of expression. There's a lot that
the stakes are higher.
Yes, there's a lot that you have to do. It takes a lot of concentration because your audience is right in front of you and you're saying something that is funny. You're going to want to laugh. They are going to be laughing and you have to, control that. And so I think I don't feel challenged. I don't feel scared. I don't feel worried. They should come.
But what about, we live in a very capitalist society, right? And I think that people associate actors and actresses with the glam, the high fashion. social media doesn't make it any easier as well. I'm not saying that your job is not well paying, but there seems to be some sort of, it's not as glamorized as those on social media and the silver screen. Does that not put you off, you know, completely?
True, that's very true what you said. But I always go personal because everybody has their different views, different, you know. But personally, I don't really care about that. Even if I were to be on the social media limelight and all of that, it's going to be this way. I would want you to experience me in person, on stage, live experience, and then, yeah.
Let's look at it from a social standpoint now. We used to have the National Theatre, which was the big forum for people to go and see these grand stage plays. Now, you had a couple at the Muson Center, and I think there are other little spots where people can go to for intimate gatherings in the evening.
That's what they do
improv
at
and stuff
the Terra
like that.
Culture, where it's on the field outside, the lawn outside.
It's always very grand, but do you see us going back to the heyday of theatre from what it was back in the 80s with your efforts as young people? Do you think that we have the infrastructure even to accommodate this passion that you guys are bleeding out with now?
We do not have the infrastructure yet, but it's coming. And why I say this with all confidence is because the younger people that are coming into theatre are determined to make it work. Back then, there was the infrastructure, right? And it was not maintained. Currently, again, there are very few spaces.
It wasn't just the infrastructure, it was the culture around the infrastructure.
Exactly.
You had the National Theatre where people would go, even if they had no business there, but they just...
And there were plays showing.
It fed off of and on their passion. So those kinds of forums don't seem to exist anymore. Where would I go to if I was very passionate? If I was passionate about sports, I'd go to stadium. I don't need to have a ticket. But if I was passionate about theatre, where do I go to now? Even the National Theatre doesn't stand as such a structure anymore. So that's a challenge, isn't it?
It's a challenge, and that's why, again, the younger people that are currently bringing this back, we're coming back with our full passion and our full confidence, and we're determined to make it work. Right? All the infrastructure that's lacking, we are planning to bring this back. And even the culture, it starts from us, right? There are no plays that I have done where I haven't brought at least 90% of my friends to come. So now they know, okay, this is an activity, this is a thing that they can look forward to. Is it as frequent as it was back then where, you know, over the weekend you could go to the National Theatre and see a play? No, not yet. Because we do not have dedicated venues to that purpose yet. As a producer, I rarely have to rent, you know, venues to stage plays, and it's expensive.
It is.
Right? Except you want to work with, you know, maybe a restaurant that has an outdoor space or things like that. Then you have to do immersive theatre to sort of fit the space that you have, work with what's available, right? But the younger people were working towards bringing back the infrastructure and the culture. I was having a conversation with a fellow producer, and what our goal is, you know, in the next 10 to 15 years, is for people to be able to say, you know, this weekend, I want to go see a play. And there's a play showing that I can go see, you know, either at this place or that place. It will come back. It's going to take a while, but that culture will come back.
I'm still on that culture base. It seems a bit, I don't know, Judith, help me out here, elitist currently. It's not affordable. Back in the 80s, Tukobo, National Theatre.
Hang on.
Play.
These people's gotta eat. Okay. These people's gotta eat. Okay. And there's a few
But
that's
it's expensive.
Yeah.
Is my points. And making it affordable for people to come and see and push that, you know, I'm eager to see.
But they are, all right. At the sake of, you know, making a case for them.
Are you an actor?
Yes, now. It's not acting. I'm acting here.
You should become one.
Anyway, what I'm saying is that there are shows that where and kudos to you guys, right? And kudos to everyone who's continued to champion this renaissance, is that there are shows that you can do, that they do outside on the lawn where it's a one-man, two-man play, and they constantly, you know, advertise, and you see 5K, 10K with a drink.
5K is even still much.
Ah.
I mean, I'm talking for... Mercy, why are you looking at me with a side eye?
I want to buy that car.
You would go to the movies and pay 6K for a ticket, right?
Yeah.
And not
whack him again for me.
And not everyone goes to the movies. That's my point. You see, because it's expensive, there are people who haven't been to the movies for 3 years now.
Exactly. And so the cheapest option is to stay on your phone and, you know, stream something.
Which is a challenge you have to battle.
Yes.
As a theatre entrepreneur.
I guess the solution here is community-based and community-based numbers. How are you building communities to know that you are selling because at this time where social media is so populated. People are now looking for communities and community-based services to sell. How are you building communities to drive numbers for your play?
So we work with people in the art field, book clubs and their members, art exhibition, houses and their members, or the artists signed up with them, because these are the people that, would likely want to come see a play, right? And it's from, oh, I invite this person and you invite this person. Because at the end of the day, right, the people that say, I've never seen a play, then they see a play and, oh, I love a play, right?
Yeah, we've got one. Mava is a producer. Mava had never seen a play in her life.
Amazino.
So Mava saw a play. I think it was one of your plays. Mava saw a play only just a couple of yesterday.
Yeah.
And she hasn't stopped singing the songs from it, Mava. Mava, yes, exactly. That is called a play. Just so you know.
I'm so sorry. You see why?
Young people don't know what theater is.
But away from theater, right? I want to talk about the intersection of modernity and our contemporary time and tradition. The plays back in the day had the elements of our tradition. And I mean, our languages, you had the songs, you had the refrain in the middle where they come out and they sing traditional songs.
Yeah.
How are you staying true in terms of incorporating the traditional elements of whether it's a popular Wazobia, which is Yoruba, Hausa, Igbo, or better yet, the Pidgin English or other tribes to still stay true indigenous to who we are?
It depends on the nature of the story you're telling in that particular play.
Is there a concerted effort to still stay true in spite of the play?
Always, because as a Nigerian woman, I personally insist on telling Nigerian stories, right? And as a South woman, those are like the stories I tell. And also, again, to connect with the Nigerian audience, right? The pidgin has to be there. The native Nigerian languages have to be thrown in, because this is an experience that people can relate to. The funny things that your mother would say to you in her language in the morning when you piss her off, it has to be there, right? Because these are the comments that would get a reaction from your audience. These are the things that would add up at the end for them to say, oh, I can relate to this, right? This is not a strange, faraway experience for me. So these are the things that we have to, intentionally infuse into theater today. We can't go back all the way to the way it was done in the in the 80s or in the 90s with very strict, command of English and all that. How we are now is how we present ourselves on stage.
Okay. Yeah.
Challenges that you face as an artist. I'd just like for you to go as challenges, play.
Challenges that we face as an artist. I think funding.
Funding.
Yeah. The entirety of theater is very expensive. It's very expensive, and as an artist, is quite the money that's been spent or money that you get for the work that you put in. It doesn't really add up. But we do it majorly for the passion.
What about jobs? Actors, whilst on this job, there's scripts flowing in. I wonder how it's like for you. How frequent is it for you?
It's not as frequent as the screen actors and all of that. But yeah, that's a challenge. Honestly.
Do you find that audiences have changed over the years? Are audiences attention span shortening? Do you find them lagging off at the end of a show, or do you have to also adapt to make your shows shorter so that they can do and go?
So as an actor and as a good actor, I ensure that every time I'm on stage, I am in connection with my audience. So I do not feel that disconnect, because if there is a disconnect, I try, that's the whole point of being an actor. I have to make sure that I have your attention. And so I really do not experience that. The audience, the change is a positive change, very, very reactive, they are there, like she said, because of the script, because of the way the stories are being written, it is easy for us to connect. And so it just
easy for us to connect indeed. I remember watching, was it Lola Akindoju? She's married now to the famed chef Freggs. There we go. She played one of the huge, I think it was a wife of Shango Morimi. I can't remember who it was that she played. But the costuming, the lighting, the music, nicely done. And I can only imagine how much I spent. And of course, they did it during the Easter period. And I wonder if that's a strategy that you guys will incorporate in due time. just doing, plays only during the festivities, where people are willing to have expendables suspend.
Willing to have family experience.
Yeah, family experience, to come. Because the hall was packed and people were like outside with their popcorn waiting for the next show. And it's like it's 2 hours, we'll wait.
Mercy, we love that you young people are bringing back theater. We miss it and would love to see your expressions of it. And of course, I expect nothing short of perfection from beautiful ladies.
I couldn't see the show yesterday. I do hope I get time to see it today. But congratulations, ladies. Congratulations. Congratulations.
We've got 1 or 2 more packages to run here through 4 Breakfast Extra. Do stay tuned. We'll be bringing that your way shortly. It is Easter, and through today we have been joining our correspondents across Nigeria to find out exactly how festivities, felicitations, and family is going on around this occasion. Joining us now will be our head of the Abuja Bureau, Amadine Oyi, who's going to be reporting from Abuja to tell us what the scenes are like during Easter for his location. Amadine Oyi, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm hoping you're there now.
We have Reverend Sam Oye, the pastor of this church. Good morning, Reverend.
Thank you so much, sir. How are you doing, sir?
Now, for many Christians, today is Easter. What is the significance of Easter to the Christian community?
Easter reminds us of the death, the burial, and the resurrection of Jesus Christ. It is a day in which we all get to recognize that because Jesus rose from the grave, the life he came to promise us is a reality. Because if Jesus had not risen from the dead, then the promise to give us life will not have become a reality. So when he said, I have come that you may have life and have it more abundantly, Easter, the resurrection of Jesus, shows us that that life is indeed a reality and is now available unto us.
Now, Reverend, you preached a message of hope. Nigerians are going through a very difficult time. Why do you think that this message is necessary for this period?
We are living in a very trying time in this country. Hopelessness everywhere, despair. People are in a state of despair. And so that's why we believe that Easter is the most appropriate time to bring such a message, because Jesus died, he was buried. Before he died, he was stripped naked, he was humiliated. Everything Jesus went through can be synonymous with what we are going through in our country. We'll be stripped, we'll be humiliated, we'll be brought down. But in the end of it all, Jesus rose again. And that is why we're saying, if Jesus can rise and you receive him into your heart, you too can rise. And because we as believers are in this country, our nation will rise.
Now, we have observed a very large youthful population in your church. You have continued to guide them as a shepherd. Do you think Nigeria of today holds any future for them?
Well, it's important to know that there's so much opportunity for our young people. No matter what's going on with government, our young people, we are teaching them now to know that opportunities abound for many of them. So we have so many of our young people here who are working in Nigeria here. Any money in dollars, any money in pounds, they are here. Young people. Because what we do is that those of them who have made it, we get them to teach others. So young people are beginning to discover that, look, with AI, with technology, the digital space, and then with agriculture, need for food, our young people are beginning to discover that there's opportunity in the midst of this crisis. So one of the things we do as a church is to steer that hope and practical approach on how to really make it in famine. Because we know that it was in famine God blessed Abraham. It was in famine God blessed Isaac. So God always has a way of prospering his own people in the time of famine. So we are saying to our people, yes, the economy is bad. Yes, the government may not be what it ought to be, but there's great opportunity and we are tapping into it.
I know you like to pass a word to Nigerians. What will that be?
I want to say to Nigerians, we may not be able to look up to government for now. We can look up to God. And I want to say that with God on your side, we can go through, you can go through this trying moment. So if you can keep your eyes on government, keep your eyes on God. He will take care of you.
I would have loved to say finally, but I want you to say a word to government.
I want to say to government, think about the people. Plan for the people. Talk to the people. Talk to the people. It is very important that during crisis, government keep in touch with the people. Let the people know what you are planning to do. We know you have plans, but the people need to know. And the people need to be carried along as you pursue the execution of your plans. So I'll say to government, carry the people along. It is simple wisdom in change management. We know you have great plans for us, but you need to carry us along. I think if we can be carried along, the tension can be less.
Thank you, Reverend. It's always a delight having you.
Thank you so much.
The senior pastor and head pastor of the Transforming Church in Abuja. It's a wonderful Easter, and also from our end, the News Center Television crew in Abuja, we say Happy Easter.
That is a fantastic greeting there. And I just so happened to notice that he's also wearing a pink shirt today, just as I am, just as you are, a pink dress at least. The coincidence this morning, that's very interesting. But how's your Easter going?
Well, I have a fixation that I'm focused on afterwards today, so that's how it's going. A proper fixation. I don't know if I should say that because it's just like Jesus Christ. I have something similar to Jesus Christ.
A man?
No,
okay,
yeah,
so,
well, yeah, I love men, but that's not what I mean. It's love for sinners.
I'm so sorry.
No,
in any case,
it's love for sinners.
For most people in Lagos, it actually didn't start right because of the traffic situation from Friday, which in itself was caused because of a traffic accident at the Kara Bridge. And it hasn't been such a great Easter celebration because somewhere in the midst of this, at the Ojebega area of Lagos State, there was a collapsed building. And we're supposed to be bringing in our correspondent, Israel Efirobo, who will be joining us live to tell us exactly what's happening at the site. As you can see there, the machinery trying to, I don't know if this is still part of the rescue operation.
Yeah, no, it's live images, as we can see the trucks there. They're evacuating the rubbles from the collapsed buildings. Live update from the Lagos building collapse that happened in Oremeta, Ojodubega. That's there, Israel Efirobo. He will join us shortly as he's trying to establish audio connection with us. But we're going to get a proper in-depth analysis on what exactly, or in-depth reporting on what exactly is going on. But from the footages behind him, it's clear that the evacuation of the rubbles from the building is ongoing.
These seem to be the authority because, yeah, that's the Lagos State Public Works Corporation there. You can see that branded on the side of that bulldozer there. Quick action, would you say? Albeit reactionary, but perhaps we could give them that credit that they have moved into action. I'm wondering how many people were able to rescue from yesterday. We saw the footages on social media of a couple of people who were rescued alive. But we will wait to connect with Israel to see if we can get definitive explanation and numbers. Israel, I'm being told that we have connection with Israel Efirobo. Israel, good morning. Thank you very much for reaching out to us from the site of the disaster, Ground Zero. Please, if you can give us some details as to what you're experiencing currently.
Well, Mazino, good morning to you. Indeed, the situation has not really changed much for what we reported yesterday from the scene of this horrific building collapse here at Oremeta in Ojodu, Belgium. I understand it's a three-story building. When I was just occupied, the ground floor was occupied by a restaurant, and at the time of the collapse, people were inside, and all these details is already out there in the public domain. But what we don't understand right now is that rescue operations is still ongoing, and indeed, that's about 3 a.m. this morning. We understand that men of the rescue services were able to pull out a body from the rubble just behind me here, and that's exactly the situation right now. So many people are still gathered here, waiting to see how this whole effort will proceed. We're trying to see if they can get to ground zero and see if there are more people that are trapped under the rubble. Heavy machinery on your screen right now, trying to move things away to get to ground zero of this building collapse. There are lots of figures being bandied around. I've been reliably informed here today that the figures are unconfirmed right now for those that have been rescued, for those that are still under the rubble, and indeed for those that have been taken to the hospital. We have no idea what this is, but this is exactly the situation right now. At much later, I'm quite sure they will release a press statement to tell us exactly the number of people that have been rescued, but we do know, confirmed, that about 5 people unfortunately lost their life here, that have been pulled out dead. Sadly, that is the information that we have right now here from the scene of the collapsed building in Ojodu, Berger. Mazino?
I can see that it seems like it's a residential area. Could you please clarify for us if this is a residential area, if the building was a complete building or incomplete building?
The operation is still ongoing, and we're trying to see if they will be able to bring out some more bodies from the rubble. Hello, Mazino, can you hear me?
Yes, Israel, I can hear you. I'm hoping you can hear me. Please confirm if you can hear me now.
Oh, okay, so I heard that, Mazino. This building that collapsed, what you can see in front of you, it is not a residential building. It's a building that was only occupied on the ground floor, a 3-story building. The ground floor was occupied by a restaurant, a very popular restaurant here, with people always coming here to relax and just have a meal, and that's exactly what we know about this place. There were plans for redevelopment where other floors were being put up here, and I think that's one of the reasons why this building fortunately collapsed at about 8 a.m. From the Department of Urban Planning here in Lagos State, we're told that the building was left for too long without being plastered, and that's exactly one of the reasons why the blocks were weakened due to a very long time that it's been left that way, and that's one of the causes for it to have been weakened. And then this is the resultant effect. The building collapsed yesterday at about 8 o'clock in the morning. Earlier on, I was trying to say to you, Mazino, that there are unconfirmed reports of the number of casualties, those rescued alive. But one thing that is confirmed is that 5 bodies have been pulled out from this rubble. And we do know that there is one more that was pulled out at about 3 a.m. this morning, and that will amount to about 6. But these figures are still unconfirmed, and we're hoping that an official statement will be released much later so that we can get an official confirmation of what exactly is going on here. Mazino?
All right. I think Judith has a question that she would like to ask you, if you're over. Judith, please.
Israel, I wanted to ask about the owner of the building, if there's any chance that they have been able to find the owners of this building and also the families of the deceased.
Oh yeah, for the owner of the building, we have no idea where that person is right now. No idea where the person is right now. But someone I spoke to here, someone indeed who came here today, distraught looking really sad, told me that he lost his sister right here. He was just around the corner, just waiting to see if anything could be done. But indeed, it's still a gloomy tale here. People looking really sad, and one prominent scenario that you see here when you get here is the fact that there are lots and lots of security operatives around this place trying to curtail the crowd that are still hoping to see if they can rescue anyone alive. But for the owner of the building, we have no idea where that person is right now, but we'll try to see if we can get confirmation of who
and where that person may be. Judith?
We'll come back to you at the top of the hour at noon for more situational reports there. Efe Orobo Israel, our correspondent, live from the three-story building collapse site in at Oremeta Street in Ojodu Berger. Pretty much that's where we draw the curtains for today's show.
Yes,
and
indeed.
This week's installment has been back-to-back of non-stop important discussion just right here for you, as always. But not to forget, do remember that you can always tune in Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. in the morning, all the way down to 10 a.m. The trio, and that's Joe Hansen, Benga Oborua, as well as Olive Imodi is going to be with you to hold your hand all through the 3-hour show.
Yes, indeed. Oh, before we go, we found something very entertaining inside of the news. Here's our takeout. Enjoy.
It is done. It's a pleasure to meet you here. And this is about Ikeja chapter. Ikeja chapter Game Center. Anyway, what we are especially launching today is the charging point. Actually, the purpose of this is that for some time now there's no light in the village. I think almost 3 or 4 months now. And I learned that our people are having issues with light. Yeah. For this period, we thank God the state government is attending to the light issue. But between now and then, and to at least relieve our people of distress, I have to add this charging point to the floor of our Ikeja of this lane. The purpose is for people to be charging. After all, so our people can come here. We will be running the light 24 hours for our people to charge their phones. And for now, just like what I said, I told them, it's free of charge. There is information going on that maybe we are doing it to make money. No. This is part of what we are doing to support the government. This is part of what we are doing to identify with our people. I believe in policies of identification with the people at different levels. At the grassroots level, at the middle level, at the higher level. Then for my people at home, we have to help them at this moment. Just for them to have a place to be charging their phone. Like what I said, the free